Hey Bandidos, Tux here. You know that old saying, if you can't take it, don't dish it? Well, I made a build out of it, and it can take unlimited explosions while annihilating legendary enemies with mortars, even solo. And I'm gonna show you how to make it. Let's do it. Hey Bandidos, I have a banger for you. This is a 90% explosive resistant build that delivers explosives, making it perfect for taking on legendary strongholds. Take away their explosives, they got nothing on you. All you need is a really good place to post up, put out your turret, and just bombard the hell out of them. And the artillery turret is great because even for those NPCs that love to hide in the back and send out those drones and launch grenades at you, whatever, who cares? You can take that damage and you can pop them out of cover by returning the favor. But for me, they no longer become a priority because I can take those unlimited explosives and it just tickles my armor. Okay, quick break from gameplay footage so I can walk you through the build. In order to use artillery turret, you're gonna have to run demolitionist. Right now, the game is locked in there. But the good part is it also gives you the grenade launcher, so that's nice. And it gives you the benefit of ignoring an explosion from time to time. So you could basically get hit with a drone or a grenade to the face and completely be 100% immune to it. So you get that, and that's on a timer and it resets. And then beyond that, you can have the 90% resistance. You got layers of protection from explosions here. This is centered on the artillery turret. I have a 12.9 second cooldown. As you can see, it's a 6 skill tier turret. So that means we get extra ammo, and then I got additional 10% damage from the mod, 1 extra ammo from the mod, and skill haste. Skill haste is a little bit helpful because this is your primary weapon for the most part. So you don't want it to be down too long, and 13 seconds felt just about right for me. We have 10 artillery rounds with a 7-second bleed duration, which is pretty nice. And why does bleed matter? Well, it's mostly because I'm running this really cool talent that most of you probably don't run. It's called shock and awe. So applying the status effect to an enemy increases total skill damage and repair by 20% for 20 seconds. That's a really long time. And you're refreshing it. You don't even have to worry about it. It's just happening. So it's a very easy way to increase your damage and your heals. And it's the artillery turret that puts out bleed. And then I'm running the fixer on the other side. We got 53,000 in heals before the buffs. And we have a chest and a backpack buff. I'm going to get to that in a moment. So tier 6 on that bad boy and just standard repair mods. Okay, real quick, I'm going to fly through the weapon. So I'm running the test subject. You can also run the capacitor if you want to, but with artillery turrets, you're spending so much more time shooting the artillery than you are your weapon that building those stacks and maintaining them might be a challenge. It's just not my favorite way to play, so I decided to go with the test subject because it only takes 1 bullet to activate in sync, which is also going to return the favor and give you some weapon damage too, but it's going to give you 40% skill damage when you have them both active, which is pretty cool. Now, the timer on this is only 5 seconds, so you do have to do that basically right as you're shooting your artillery turret, which usually isn't a problem. I found it to be pretty easy. If you're running with the group, the lefty is going to be handy, so you're going to hawk a grenade and get even more damage with perfect sledgehammer, helping you and your allies destroy enemies even faster. Going back to the backpack real quick, I'm running 2 pieces of RNK, which is giving us 10% explosive resistance, but it's also giving us incoming repairs. Very helpful. Now, that doesn't show up on the stats anywhere, but it basically means you're going to be healing faster per second from any heals, whether they're your heals or an ally's heals. And it's got a skill tier, skill damage, explosive resistance, and I have a repair skill mod. You don't have to have a repair skill mod there. You could also put more incoming repairs, which is not a bad idea, by the way, or you could put on skill haste. I don't recommend skill duration, but if you did do that, it would mostly be for your repair drone. But this is the basic equation for the build. So let's look at the second piece of RNK, which is going to be my chest piece. Just so you know, all these pieces, they can be mixed and matched anywhere. So the RNK can be on the mask, can be on the gloves, whatever. So the second piece is giving us the explosive resistance and same stats. So we got skill tier, explosive resistance, skill damage, and on this one, I put skill haste. Now we have the chest talent called kinetic momentum, a great alternative to glass cannon, especially for builds where you want some really good resistance, where glass cannon could work against you. But the reason why I'm really running this is because it doesn't only give you skill damage, which is 15%, by the way, it gives you skill repair, which is 30%. 30% skill repair from the chest and 20% skill repair from the backpack. That's 50% repair skills. And then we have our repair skill mods and our incoming repair, and we have our 6th skill tier drone. So So very strong in heals, just as strong as the explosive resistance. And that's important because you're not only taking damage from explosive resistance, you're also taking shots from enemies and snipers and bullets and whatever. So that's gonna help you heal through that really quickly when it happens. And I mean really quickly. So super cool combo. Now, I'm running 2 pieces of Brazos. That's for the skill haste and the skill tier. Why? And that's because we're not running technician. We usually run with skills. That gives you a skill tier. And we got the knees that have an armor core on it. So the 2-piece Brazos is the path to getting the strongest skills here. So you can get that extra skill tier. And so I actually crafted this one. They're pretty decently easy to craft. So I got skill haste, a skill tier, explosive resistance, and skill damage. So same formula, right? And sorry, my roll here isn't very good. I'm just hoping for a better drop later. Hey Bandidos, the community we have built together wouldn't have been possible without you. So as a thank you for supporting my channel, I am bringing you the hookup on member perks, including even more Division 2 content and the celebrated gaming music playlists. If you're not part of Tux's Players Club, now is your chance. And then same thing for the gloves. I crafted this one real quick. It's the best I could do. And I got skill tier, skill damage, and more explosive resistance. So, but we're not hurting on stats, just so you know, real quick to jump into that. Explosive resistance is at 87.9. The max is 90%. So even though I don't have max rolls there, I'm almost to the cap anyways. The brand new piece to the game that came just this season is called Langmo. It gives us 20% explosive resistance. That is absolutely amazing for legendary content because there's so many explosives in there. Skill tier, explosive resistance, skill damage, and skill haste. All right, for the knees, and you gotta put these on. These are amazing. We're making use out of everything but the health for the most part. So we got armor, explosive resistance, and then health, which is kind of boo, but we got stand your ground. Cannot be staggered by explosions. So if you notice, I was taking all those explosions and not once was I being staggered. Now, if you get staggered, that's when you pop out of cover and then you have 13 NPCs shooting at your forehead, right? So this prevents that from happening. So you can just sit there all day and take those explosions even when your fixer goes down. You can still take a lot of explosives, basically enough until your fixer comes back and then you're just gonna heal through it real fast. Pretty cool. You're also gonna get increased total weapon damage by 3% for each second you're not moving. And what I found is that's actually pretty handy here because I don't move a lot with my artillery turret. And that's rare for Tux, I gotta tell you, because I'm always moving, but not with artillery turrets, because with artillery turrets, I basically find a home base and then I just launch from there until the checkpoint's over, rinse and repeat. I don't mind that, but either way, we're not really playing into the weapon damage, but we still got decent weapon damage again. And then we got the 40% coming from perfectly in sync, so you're not too shabby. If you wanted a little bit more, you can even put on the Picaro's holster, but since I'm looking for damage to my skill, I just decided to run a standard Brazos holster instead. But Picaro holster is perfectly a good option. You also have other options on your backpack. For some reason, if you can't get shock and awe to land on an RNK or a Langmo or Brazos, because again, you can mix and match the pieces. Tech support would be my second go-to. So skill kills increase total skill damage by 25% for 25 seconds. So you're gonna get a kill at least once every 25 seconds, right? I also want good heals. I'm only losing 5% skill damage, but I'm also getting repair skills. Hey, a true alternative to the backpack is that you can run strategic alignment and get more explosive damage to your artillery turret and get perfect shock and all. So this is an absolutely excellent alternative. You would really be doing this because it's easy to farm, I gotta say, but for that explosive damage, that's why you'd be running this piece, because this thing just only gives you more time to that skill damage and repair. So the perfect talent doesn't give you more damage. So if you decided to go this way, you would do it because it's an easy piece to farm and you'd be getting more explosive damage. And I guess the time isn't gonna hurt you. The downside about going with China is it's gonna break your 2-piece RNK combo or your 2-piece Brazos. If that's the case, it's the RNK you want to lose. And if you take off 1 RNK, you might as well just take off 2 RNK and perhaps put an Alps Summit instead of the RNK on your chest piece or something. By doing that, you'd only be losing 10% explosive resistance, and that's fine. You can actually swing on more heals and take on less explosive resistance if you like. That's another way to do it. Go to like 80% explosive resistance and add 10% more repair skills, or go to 70% explosive resistance and add 20% more repair skills. That's how you balance this build out. It's the same thing, strong heals and strong resistance, but there's a threshold you don't want to drop below, and I can't really remember what it is, but anything less than 60% explosive resistance, you're probably going to be noticing big chunks of your armor taken off. Anyways, I totally recommend this build, guys. It's amazing, it's fun, and you deserve it. So this build is precisely calibrated to not only resist explosions, but also to have really strong heals to go with it. So we're using the combination of a few key attributes to make this possible. And that's because explosive resistance on its own isn't very valuable because you're still taking damage from explosions and otherwise, so you still need to have some sort of heals along with your build. I mean, how many times have you run an explosive artillery turret build and you accidentally killed yourself? For instance, God forbid that happens, but it does. You know, so being able to resist your own explosions is also handy. Oopsies aside, typical explosive artillery builds are really, really squishy. When you're running in a team, the players are often picking that guy up because although he's strong, and they really are, the builds are incredibly strong artillery builds, they're also incredibly weak. They really can't handle any sort of damage. And so when they take that drone or grenade, because they're usually hiding in cover, the player is the one controlling the mortars, you know, they're eventually going to take the wrong grenade or drone to the face, and then somebody has to go pick them up. That's because there's 6 skill tier builds. So this is a 6 skill tier build also, but it has the accompanying resistance and heals to give you this really godly feeling. I gotta say, I feel like a Terminator in here. And that's because we're running the full package of a build. And we even have some decent weapon damage too, but that's not what this build is. So the build has weapon damage in case you get flanked, but we're centering on our artillery. And that's important to say because I gotta say, explosive resistance doesn't work with just any build. And so if you've tried running an explosive resistance build, maybe with your St. Elmo's or your AK or your TKB, you might not have been impressed. And I get it. I wasn't either. There's certain weapons and loadouts that explosive resistance just doesn't work with. And some of those are like assault rifle builds, SMG builds, LMG builds. And the reason why is because those weapons are, I gotta say, relatively on the lower end when it comes to damage. Even if you have the strongest build, right? There's weapons that are stronger out there, like snipers and shotguns and whatever. Those weapon classes, like assault rifles, let's just use that as an example, require a lot of crits and amplified damage and all these other details on your build to get it to a place where it feels really good. But when it comes to skill builds or even sniper builds and some rifle builds and pistol builds, those weapon classes have some weapons that are so strong that you have room on your build to add explosive resistance without sacrificing any real damage. And so you're still really effective and you have this added survivability perfect for legendary. Now, it doesn't make any sense to run explosive resistance outside of legendary builds unless you're always fighting the Tusk for some reason. Maybe like an invasion. So I guess if you're playing invaded content, yeah, okay, it'd be helpful there. But really, this is a legendary build. It's designed to dish serious damage to legendary enemies as well as take serious damage from those legendary explosives. And the best part is they can't even pop you out of cover. So you're just very well protected. You have a turtle shell basically, and it can take a pounding. And so for the demonstration, I really wanted to do this solo so that I could take all the explosives and deal all the damage so that you can see that this build absolutely has the full package. So it can dish it and it can take it and it can clear the content. So all you need to know is where to post up so that you don't get overrun or flanked or something like that. So in a team setup, you're not only going to be crowd controlling, because that's what mortars are. So they're not the same crowd control kind like, you know, Riot Foam or an Eclipse protocol, but the artillery turret pops the enemies out of cover and gets them jumping around. And when that's happening, what are they not doing? Well, they're not shooting at you. So that's really, really helpful. At the same time, you're damaging those enemies and killing those enemies. And then you're also buffing your team with additional damage to target out of cover. You're also putting status effects on enemies, so they might be taking additional damage to status affected targets, so on and so forth. So it's a great team build. Do not be shy. Now, artillery turrets are not great for all legendary missions. Some missions might be a pain in the butt to use. Now, most of you are probably better with the artillery turret than I am. I don't use this bad boy actually enough to be super proficient with it. I'm a little slow at it, but some people are really good with their targeting and their aces. So if that's you, kudos. Thank you for hanging out with me today. My name is TuxedoBandido, and this was another episode of The Division 2. If you found this video helpful, subscribe, like, and turn on notifications to ensure you don't miss out on the fantastic experience is waiting for you in The Division 2. And if you like builds like this, check out the recommended build video I have here for you. If you have anything you want to see covered, be sure to let me know in the comments below. And thank you to all the channel members and donors who make everything possible. Tux Nation wouldn't be without you.
Follow me.
I get it.